Adar Marbin B'Simcha. So first of all, everybody says Marbin B'Simcha. We have to be Marbin during Adar, but we always have to be B'Simcha, right? It doesn't say be Misameach. Vice versa, the rest of the year we would not necessarily be Misameach. Fakir Misha Nichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha, because it's Ivdu Hashem B'Simcha the whole year. We're just going to add on to it too. I just saw a beautiful idea a few moments ago. Why do we say Mishnichas Adar Marbin B'Simcha? A good part of Adar was a time of lack of Simcha. The whole beginning of Adar was far from Simcha. The Jews were fearful that their end, God forbid, was coming. So therefore I would say Mishayotza Adar Marbin B'Simcha. Shouldn't that be? When Adar ends, we should be Misimcha, because we've had a Purim. But before, so the Mahalach is this. Rabbi Biederman, so his Mahalach, that the idea of a situation such as Purim, even during the build-up, the time of fear, the time of worry, we still have to have Simcha, because we know that Hashem is going to redeem us. That whatever is going to happen, Kol Madav Rachman Latav, of it, everything that Hashem does is good, and therefore there's going to be a Yeshua for us as well. That's why in the Midbar, Miriam said Tehillos right after Yashir with the women, and that was, they brought Tupim Umucholos. Where do they have instruments? How do they get instruments in the Midbar? They brought them from Eretz Mitzrayim. Why did they bring them from Eretz Mitzrayim? Because while they were still suffering, they realized that there was going to be Yeshua, and there's no question about it. Why is Tehillim called Tehillim? Much of Tehillim refers to all the tzaros that David HaMelech experienced. It should be called Tefillos. But why Tehillim? Tehillim are praises. During the time that David HaMelech is writing, it's far from praises. On the contrary, David HaMelech knew that there would be a Yeshua, there would be salvation, there would be redemption. Therefore, even the situation was difficult, he had within him a certain simcha that God is going to be there to help us. It's a beautiful, beautiful idea in life, that even the Jew, even during the time of trials and tribulations, lo aleinu, there's still simcha, knowing that we are attached to a Kadosh Baruch Hu, and He will be there for us. Beautiful idea. There's another question that comes up. Why do we say Mishnichas Adar Marbin B'Simcha? What about Kislev? Chanukah. Chanukah is lahashtichim Torah sechel aviv mechupei ritzonecha. The Greeks wanted to destroy us spiritually, which is, in God forbid, is even a worse situation than physical annihilation. So therefore, why do we say Mishnichnas? So there is a mahalach by Kislev that what comes after Kislev? Tevis. Asara b'Tevis, times of difficulty. Whereas after Adar comes Nisan, a time of Geula. So we have a Yeshua in Purim time, and we have a Geula by Pesach, and of course, as we've learned already, that we're in the midst of 100 days of Ahava, that a Kadosh Baruch Hu, from the time of Parshas Yisro, that was Shavuos Katan till Shavuos Gadol on Shavuos. So therefore, it's all a time of Ahava and Reyes and getting closer and closer to Kadosh Baruch Hu. So we have an understanding why Mishnichnas Adar Marbin B'Simcha as well. Okay, so I would want to share with you two interesting illustrations of the Simcha Esai. What is our Simcha? Mishnichas Adar Marbin B'Simcha. What type of Simcha is this? We should really start putting on our costumes now. I mean, we should be sitting with costumes. We do sit with costumes. But this is the type of costume we're wearing now. We should change into the Purim mode of costumes. And we should perhaps do other things. But that's not the type of Simcha. The Ikar Simcha is Pekudi Hashem Yeshara Mesamcha Lev. It's the Simcha of Torah. Even at the Purim Suda of Rav Yerucham. So it's discussed and described that he sat together with other Talmidim who were their own right Gedolim, Rav Lev Malin and Rav Michal Feinstein. They were there too, and they would sing. And then in between the songs of Purim, the Rosh Hashiva, Rav Yerucham would give Divrei Torah. One boy came, and he figured, young man I would say he came, he figured he's going to bring in a different type of simcha. He put on a tachposis, he put on a costume, and he started to pretend to be shikr, or maybe he was shikr, and they asked him to leave. Why? So the mashal that was given is this. If a person was having a simcha and a little baby was nearby and started to cry, and they said, "What are you crying for? It's your brother's engagement." Or, "What are you crying? It's a beautiful siyum." He's crying. So they give him candy, and he's happy. So the tachposis is like candy. The costume is candy. We want to have the Iker Simcha. We want to have the Erisin. We want to have the Siyum. Purim. We want the Purim of Yeshari Hashem, of Torah's Mesamechas. That's the idea over here of Purim, of the Nisim, of the closeness to Hashem, the miracles of the day. That has to be our focus, not on the candy per se. The Panovich Rav, who was known to be a huge Marbitz Torah, even in his older age when he was sickly. They said to him, "How do you manage to have all the stamina that you do and going out and still building Torah all?" So he explained to them that when he was 9 years old in Lita, his father sent him with his brother to bring Shalach Manas to the Rav. And that year, along with the plain Shalach Manas lahalocha of a bottle of wine together with Mizonos, they brought every year to the Rav. And the Rav, by his way, in his own way, a Gadol b'Torah. And he was something like a rabbinic figure of note. The father, this is the Parvich's father, sent him a Gemara, 1 volume of Bava Basra that he bought. And recently, a Vilna from the Vilna Shas. And you have to realize that in Europe, at the time that he's talking about, was this pre-World War I, very few people had Gemaras, a full Gemara itself. A Shas, maybe the Shul had it. It was really not, nothing like what we understand as the large amount of Sfarim that we have. So this Gemara was, considered really something special. When the Rav got the Gemara, he picked it up and he started dancing around the table as if it were Simchas Torah. And here, this young man who was eventually going to be, the Parvish Rav, he's looking, he sees his Rav, the way he danced, and he danced for a period of time. And then he said to his Rebbitzin, he says, "Rebbitzin, do you want to give me Shalach Manas?" And she says, "Yes, what should I give you?" And he said, "Listen, we're supposed to have our Suda at 4 o'clock. Please, let's have it at 5 o'clock. And I'll learn this Gemara for an hour before the Suda." And she said, "Fine, I'll give you your Shalach Manas." He saw this and he said, if my Rav will spend so much time dancing with such simcha as if it were Simchas Torah, and about 1 Gemara, I want to be able to be Marbitz Torah in my life, to be able to have Torah in as much as I can possibly do. And that's what Panovich did. It was this particular incident that made such an impression on him. So the Mice is someone who was brought down. He said, "Can you imagine the neshama of that Rav, how that he made such an impression, and he's involved in the Harbatzas Torah, and this came from that particular situation of Purim." It's something to consider. I want to share with you two ideas of the Parsha, 2 beautiful ideas. First of all, they have from Rav and David. He has a sefer on Inyanei Sholem Bayis. So he mentions the Or HaChaim that is from the Parsha that deals with Avnei Shoyim, Va'avnei Meluim, V'choshin V'leifo. That of the 11 different matanas that came to build the Mishkan, the last that are mentioned, which were given by the Nesiim, which were the most expensive, fabulously expensive, even more than the Zohav and the Kesef, the gold and the silver, were the Avnei Shoham and Avnei Meluim, the special stones, the jewels, the precious stones. Now they were mentioned last, and the Or HaChaim says, why? They should be mentioned first, because they're so expensive. So why are they mentioned last? So maybe you'll say Achron Chaviv, the last is the dearest. You could say maybe they're part of the Big Day Kahuna, and maybe that's why it's mentioned last, because the first part deals with the building of the Mishkan. True, possible. But that's not what he says, not at all. It's a different mahalach. The Nesiim were remiss. Why were they remiss? Because when they're given the opportunity to give to the Mishkan, they took the stance that, we'll wait. And if there's a shortfall, we'll take care of the shortfall. Now that's very laudatory, but that's not the way to Mahalach. God doesn't need the help of a mortal to be able to achieve what he wants. He is giving us opportunities to get close to him. He is giving us opportunities to do mitzvahs for our benefit, not for his benefit. And therefore, their approach should have been, we're going to give now, immediately, bezrizos, with alacrity. And then, if there's something left over, we'll take care of it. So, since they didn't, their matana is mentioned last. The Orach Chaim says, he says, Ula, maybe this is the reason. And therefore, we learn a lesson from this. That when doing mitzvahs, you want to have the greatest alacrity. Do it bezrizos, no without cheshbonis, no cheshbonis. But there's another thing also besides that. In Shalom Bayis, our wives ask us for something. Nedivas Alev, that's what they want. That's what Hashem wanted by the Mishkan. Nedivas Alev, even the most costly situation, if it's present or whatever, if it's not given immediately with haste, with love, with care, it's lacking a lot. So therefore, says Rav Aaron David in his Sefer, take care of things for our wives immediately. If we can anticipate the need, take care of that even before they ask. It's a nice idea. Hamei ben Yovel, we can take care of it. Do we have time? A moment. They're beautiful, but you have to listen carefully for this. Very carefully. We're talking about the Kruvim. Regarding the Kruvim, it says, the Upanehem ish el ochiv. The Kruvim are on top of on the kaporos on top of the Aron. Their wings, they are held high and facing each other. And the Gemara in Bava Basra says, when Hashem was at peace with the Jewish people, Hakol Yom Shalom, between Hashem and the Jewish people, they faced each other. And if not Chas v'Sholom, they faced the bias. They looked away. So therefore, the Upaneim Ish El Ochiv is a sign of Shalom, of closeness, of Dveikus. But follow this for a moment, if you please. Look at this. Panehem ends with a mem. Ish, shin, el, lamed, ochiv, vav. If you take the letters and you reorder them, what do you come out with? Upanehem, ish, el, ochiv. What word do we come out with? Shalom. Wow. There's no question if we wanted to go through Chumash and find Sof Tevos, the end of words, we'll find somewhere else, Shalom, Shalom, the same letters will be there, whatever order they'll be. That's not the point. That it's here in this pasuk of Upneihim Ish Elohim, which happens to deal with the relationship of Shalom between the Jewish people, Ken is given by the hand, another point, the hand of Hashem. And this is it. Torah is given by Hashem. It didn't happen by happenstance. We can't build emunah on this, but we can certainly have a chizik in the emunah that we already have of the Torah and the Shemayim from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. A guten Shabbos, a guten Chodesh.